Good morning, CWCC. Welcome to Girls Club. We have one of the most extraordinary women with us this morning, and I just feel so blessed and lucky to have her with us. Heidi Ganahl, who everybody knows she's a local celeb, but I'll let her introduce herself to you. Not that she needs any introduction, but welcome, Heidi.
Oh, thanks, Kristen. I'm so glad to be here. I mean, no better way to start the day than with an amazing group of women, especially here in Colorado. You guys do such awesome work, and I'm so happy to support it and happy to be here.
Yeah, well, we're so lucky to have you and thanks for being here. And I don't know, I mean, let's chat a bit. I know that you've had such great success with Camp Bow Wow. You're one of the few women I know that gets over $1 million in revenue for your business, but also that sold it and has such a success story to share. And now you've started a new gig. Tell us more about that.
Oh, it's super fun. It's called the SheFactor. And it came from my daughter's senior year of college. She came home for spring break. She went to University of Oregon and she's a dynamo. She came home and was like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, go get a job. And, I started to think back to the conversations I have with a lot of young people at CU as a regent and in my, role there. And they're really like struggling. They're a little bit lacking in self-confidence and just there's so many options these days. It's hard to navigate. And so I thought, I really think it'd be helpful to create some like lessons from those of us that have been around the block for the younger generation. And so I wrote a book called The She Factor. And you know me, I don't do anything small. So I created a podcast and a blog and an app and all this crazy stuff to go with it. And my daughter kind of resisted working for me on it. And then she went out and got her own job and did her thing. And then I would say, well, can you just record a podcast? Can you just do a blog? And now she's pretty much running the show and doing it all. I just am here to, nod and say, oh yeah, that looks great. She
Right.
knows what 20 somethings want to hear. I don't. So it's better that way.
Isn't it kind of like there's no better example of silent leadership than being a parent? You know what I mean?
Oh, it's hard. It's the hardest job on the planet, the most fulfilling, obviously. But, I think it's become really relevant that we did this. We created it. We launched it in May of 19, and our goal was to have live chapters around the country. Well, obviously that got flipped on its head with COVID, and we shifted to digital. But one thing that's happening right now is called the She Session, which I know you guys
Right.
have talked about. And it's that moms are really struggling. Like, we can't do it all in that homeschooling our kids and navigating COVID and keeping our parents safe and working. And so SheFactor has really given women who are successful a chance to mentor and talk to the younger women in our lives that are moms and helping them navigate this and stay calm. We're here for you. We want to support you. So it's created these really cool connections that I didn't envision when I started it.
That's amazing. And I have to say that I would definitely not be where I am had it not been for the women before me that did it, showing me how to navigate it. So what a great concept. And I can't wait to hear more. It sounds incredible. So thanks for sharing. And let us know what we can do. I'd love to meet some of the young women that are in it and give them some exposure and profile them at some point. So let's talk about that soon.
They're dynamos. We're in good hands. We've got some great young women coming up behind us, and I think they're going to show us how it's done.
Oh, I believe it. Well, so let's move on to the questions that we ask everyone. And I can't wait to hear your answers, kind of given what you've been through in the past year. You are just an amazing human being. So tell us about a time in your life when you've persevered and how you got through it.
Well, goodness gracious, I have lots of stories, but the most relevant one happened starting last August, or actually a couple months before that. I was getting really bad headaches behind my ear, like at the base of my skull, and the doctor kept sending me to the dentist saying, "Oh, you need a crown, you need a root canal." So did all
Mhm.
that, still had a headache, and I just knew something was off, and I started having trouble writing my name, like signing my name. And I went to my doctor who I adore, and I said, I know something's not right. She goes, well, let's do an MRI. She called me the next day, and I had a brain tumor. And she said, now here's the good news. We think it's a good kind of brain tumor. I'm like, I didn't know there was.
What is that?
They were pretty sure it wasn't cancer, but it was really starting to affect me. It's called a meningioma. And we have a gal here in Denver who started the Meningioma Mamas, which is a great support group. It just so happens they're very rare, but it's basically a non-cancerous tumor that grows over a long period of time, like 10 to 15 years. But in a lot of cases, you have to take it out because it presses on an important part of your brain. And so I got into surgery within a few weeks at CU Anschutz with Dr. Lillahai, who was amazing. And it was up against a vein, so it was a pretty tricky surgery, and they had to leave a tiny bit in, which I may have to get some radiation for at some point. But I'm healing great, and everything's fine. I'm so blessed. I don't have any side effects from it, and I shouldn't have any recurrence of it. But my goodness, it taught me how loved I am. The community here, my friends, my family, my business associates, it's going to make me cry. It's just amazing, the support I got.
So two questions. One is like, how did they operate? How does that happen? I mean, it sounds really scary, even if it's not cancerous, like them going in and messing with your brain, or like, did they have to shave your head, or I don't know why, like, that's really important for me to know.
Yeah. And funny enough, like that is a big topic, and they don't shave your head. Like they go along here and they just cut a thin, like long line, and they do have to open up your skull. It's called a craniotomy. And the meningioma grows on the meninges, which is the membrane around your brain. So it's not actually like growing into it grows and pushes on your brain, but it's not a part of your brain. So they go in, pull it out, and then they use bone cement to fill in the gaps from cutting the skull open. And then the biggest issue is when they're in there, if there's a vein near or something, is stroke or something like that. So the scariest part for me wasn't cancer, because I knew they were pretty sure it wasn't, but it was the idea that something might happen in surgery. And so you go into like nesting mode before, you got 3 weeks before the surgery, and I have 4 kids and a husband and parents, and we're in the middle of COVID, and I just did everything I could to make sure everything was buttoned up in case something happened or in case I had a long recovery. And I tell people one of the hardest things I ever did, it always makes me like tear up, but I think it's important, like to frame everything, is walking up to the park and sitting on the bench and making some videos for my kids in case things didn't go well. And it's just looking like that right in the face, like, what if this happens? And I'm as a mom, you're more afraid of leaving your kids and not being there for them. And it's just earth shattering to go through. It's crazy, but it really makes you figure out what's important. And I kid around with people, like I think they removed the filter when they took out the tumor, because I'm even more feisty and fearless. And my family's like, can you just chill out? I'm like, we don't have time for that. We have lots of stuff to do.
That's incredible. And, I mean, I love the story because it shows how something incredible comes out of a very difficult situation, right? And it sounds like it gave you more of a zest for life. Like, you already had that already. So I can't imagine what that looks like on a day-to-day basis, but I bet you it's pretty incredible. And it's interesting, I mean, we were talking about it. I'm going through the loss of my mom right now, and the community aspect of it is really incredible. And it is interesting. And you're in an organization that's all about women too. And I feel so blessed, and it's men and women that support us in times of grief and trial. But can you kind of talk a little bit about the community and what that support did for you? Because I'm getting a glimpse of it, and it is super powerful.
I mean, I'll tell you, funny thing, my kids, there were so many meals, like people brought so much food for so long. And I finally, when I was feeling better, I was like, all right, guys, I'm good. I can cook again, which is a scary proposition for them. But they're like, no, this is the best we've eaten in years. No, you can't stop the food.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
don't tell them.
Yeah, don't better. But just everything was handled. It was, I mean, my mom's amazing. And my 25-year-old daughter, Tori, who helps me with SheFactor, came into town, stayed for a month, and was amazing. My husband was great, but dudes just,
it's different.
like fix it mode.
Mhm.
And we had just started at a new school, a small school down here in Highlands Ranch, because we moved down from Boulder County. And the families were amazing. They didn't even know me that well. And they took care of my kids and took care of all the driving and just stepped in and just knocked it out of the park for like 6 weeks while I was in recovery and everything. And I'll always have a very special bond with all these moms now. They just, and my best friend Deanna, my best friend Dawn, and Molly, like all of them just stepped up and were there for me. And those relationships and friendships, just make it palatable to get through.
Ugh, I'm just like so grateful that you had that
Thank
surrounding
you.
you. It's super important, and I like can't even believe that I'm sitting across from you right now, and you look so beautiful and vibrant, and it's amazing. You are a really strong person. Would you say that, getting through that was that community the way that you did it, or were there other things that helped get you through it?
I think my kids just focused on helping them get through it, my husband. And then I think, yeah, the community, I just, was surrounded by so much love and support. Like I can't, there wasn't a moment that I didn't have somebody there if I needed something, and it made all the difference in the world. And so, now I take on a different approach with SheFactor and as a region, and even with this new podcast I'm doing, it's about building community, because I saw firsthand how stinking important it is and how it breaks down all the craziness that's going on in the world right now. Like there's no time to be divisive or talk about stuff that we don't get along with when you're faced with something that dire. It's all about love, and it's all about connection and support, and just makes all of that fall away.
It's so true. We could all learn a little lesson from that, right? Like when you're really focused on what matters and you're faced with something like that, love gets you through it and the support. And I don't know how we apply that to the political landscape, but boy, wouldn't that be fascinating to see if we could all do that now. So thank you for sharing that. It's so true. Okay, what is a mantra that you live by?
Well, early on in my life, I lost my first husband in a plane crash. A lot of people know that. It's been a long time, but my saying then that was buying my first husband saying, and I think it applies today, is carpe diem, like seize the day. You don't get a second chance. And I bet your mom would, resonate with it. Like she probably has the same advice, like go out there, knock it out of the park, live life, love everybody. Don't spend time in hate or divide or nastiness. Like it's just, there's no time for that.
No.
And and it really, it reconnected me with my faith and how important that is in my life. Which is, it's a good reminder that there's something bigger than us out there that's connecting all of us and keeping us moving towards a shared vision of a happier, healthier world, right? So I also love the saying, be the change you want to see, whether it's in politics or the world or at CU or whatever. But we start with ourselves, and you change the world by changing yourself first. So
I needed that today.
oh, good.
Carpe diem and be the change that you want to see. Heidi,
That's all
thank
I
you so
got for you,
much.
Christy.
No, it's plenty. I'm going to ponder that. Thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate you. Can't wait to see what SheFactor does in the future.
Well, I appreciate all of you too. You do fantastic things for our community. You're doing exactly what needs to be done right now. So I'm just very appreciative.
Thank you.